Good afternoon, as it is time in Saudi Arabia, and good morning or good evening in other places in the world. I'd like to welcome our speakers. I'd like to welcome our participants. It is our pleasure in IMA, the International Maintenance Association, and OMAINTEC, the Arab Operation and Maintenance Council, to welcome you in this occasion, which UNESCO celebrates the World Engineering Day, usually every year on the 4th of March, and they do their webinars from 3 to 10 of March. And would like to use this opportunity to highlight and give more focus on the role of maintenance, facility management, and asset management in achieving world what they call it sustainable development goals of the United Nations 2030. As you know, there is 17 sustainable development SDGs, what they call it SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, announced by United Nations, and they asked all the countries to cope with these goals within 10 years, which is 2020 to 2030. And out of this 17 goals, there is 10 goals which have direct or indirect relation to maintenance, facility management, and asset management, such as health, education, and clean water, energy, and infrastructure, and clean cities and new cities, life on land, also climate action. These 10 SDGs has direct or indirect relation to maintenance activities, facility management activities, and asset management activities. And like to introduce our speakers for today's webinar. We have 4 distinguished speakers. I will introduce them according to their sequence in presenting their presentation. Our first speaker will be Mr. from UK, Mr. Peter Wilmot. He is a chartered engineer and FIEE, and he has a bachelor degree, honors degree in production engineering. He is director of SA Partners in UK. And then our second speaker will be Mr. Tom Svensson. He is a managing director of TSMC and associate professor at MSK Copenhagen School of Marine Engineering and Technology Management from Denmark. And then our third speaker will be Engineer Ali Swedi. He's board member of Arab Council of Operations and Maintenance, vice president, Middle East Facility Management Association, MIFMA, and vice chairman of Global Facility Management Association. And our last speaker will be Dr. Alan Wilson. He has experience and founder of and chairman of the UK Computer Aided Maintenance Management Group. He's currently assisting the National Operational and Maintenance Standards Committee on a project to improve O&M performance throughout the government establishments. Our speakers are distinguished, and also they have a lot of awards, a lot of contributions in the field of maintenance, facility management, and asset management. And I'd like to welcome them again, and we are very glad to have them in this webinar. And we'll start with our first speaker, Mr. Peter, and every speaker will take 10 minutes to present his contribution in this day. Thank you all. Mr. Peter, please. Yes, you can start, Mr. Peter.
Can you see my screen? Yes?
It's clear. Yes.
Okay.
You give
So
feedback, we can start.
thank you for your introductions, Dr. Zaher, and welcome everyone. I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the key considerations to deliver a culture of effective partnership between asset owners and their operations and maintenance service providers within the context of this digital age of Industry 4. In SA Partners, we have a 3-model focus, which I'll run through. My particular area of SOSE expertise is total productive maintenance, and to use that as an enabling system and philosophy to deliver operational excellence through these 3 Ps. The first one is purpose, how the customer needs are understood and converted into strategy through innovation, involvement, and deployment. Secondly, process, how value is created within the organization through learning by doing. And then the third one, which I would suggest the most important one, is how people are upskilled and managed through proactive leadership and partnership. And all 3 are focused on customer results. If I briefly reflect on where we've come from in Europe in terms of our history and experience, back in the 1960s, 70s, we had single-skill craftsmen. And then in the 1980s and 90s, they became multi-skilled. And then today, we've introduced in many companies the operator's contribution to the teamwork of maintenance. So they are flexible, adaptive, and responsive. And for the future, we need those same teams to be versatile, resourceful, or purposeful. And my suggestion is that successful Industry 4 implementation will depend on the delivery of this state. So here are 5 questions for you to ask within your organization, enterprise. Is your enterprise keeping pace with the rapidly emerging technologies of Industry 4? Secondly, what percentage of time spent by your current staff is fully productive and hence value adding? I've been involved recently in some research work which suggests that only 15% of activity is value added when it comes to fixing a breakdown. So I now express that as the mean time to respond and repair, because the response time of 85% is non-value adding. It's only the repair that it is. And selective use of the Industry 4 tools will attack that 85% of non-value adding. So the next question to ask yourself is, how effective are your systems of work and supporting process to continuously improve on your answer to that second one above? And fourthly, how well does your organization encourage a positive attitude of learning in the workplace? And how well defined is the ideal maintenance and operations individual and team skill profile? Where are the gaps, and how good is your enterprise at developing the skills it needs? And if you wish to make your utility, your enterprise, a world-class facility, the future drivers are these 4 interlinked circles. Maintenance effectiveness will deliver energy efficiency as well as environmental control. And fourthly, and most importantly, safety management. The reason that's highlighted in red is that people do not come to work to get injured. The common denominator is delivery of those 4 links through our people. And if we look at the evolution of partnership, on the left-hand side, we had these first generation rigid and often confrontational agreements. And a lot of companies are now moved to this second generation where they're aligning expectations to improve effectiveness. Where we now need to move is toward a third generation of partnership, where the integrated operations and common goals. I was involved with British Petroleum a few years back in their offshore oil and gas exploration business, and we developed the partnership idea here as being maximum benefit, in which the contractual arrangement, which the asset owners and service providers agree to work closely together for the increased benefit of both. It's a long-term commitment for the purposes of achieving specific objectives by maximizing the effectiveness of each party's resources. And most importantly, the relationship is based on trust and a shared vision with dedicated common goals and an understanding, thorough understanding of each other's expectations. So if you want to develop a sustainable partnership, these underpinning principles means we're moving from the old cost-centric to performance-centric to collaborative to mutual and harmonious, where the sum of the two partnerships provides something greater than two. The first two are about structure and process, the latter two about leadership and behaviors. And we've moved from independence to dependence to interdependence. And there's often a disconnect to achieve those last two unless we have those appropriate leaderships and behaviors. So if you want a sustainable partnership, which of course we do, you've got to have the right framework and infrastructure. And the reason there are the two ticks there is that that's fairly easy to do, as is also use of the right tools and techniques. And in my case, it's total productive maintenance. The real challenge is to generate the right behaviors, hence the 3 question marks. And the partnership leadership team need to exhibit a real appetite and desire to contribute. Otherwise, all 3 of those will not happen. I love this Chinese proverb because it describes TPM. It says, tell me something and I'll forget it. You show me and I'll start to believe, which is what I'm hoping I'm doing now. If you then let me practice, I'll actually understand what you showed me. And if you let me improve, I'll take care. And if you let me innovate, I'll actually master it. That is a powerful journey. Because as an operator or a maintainer at the sharp end of the business, I'll do something different on these 6 conditions. You leave these out and I'll tick a few boxes, but I won't take ownership. In fact, I'll tick the boxes at the start of the shift. You ask my opinion about the best way. You include it in the future ways of working. You feed back the result to me, you train me and coach me to respond, and you give me dedicated improvement time because I want it to result in a trouble-free shift. Not because I'm lazy, I'm smart. And I'm reminded by that statement that Peter Drucker, an American writer, made many years ago, who suggested that culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. So effective communication equals teamwork, with the emphasis on effective. If we just say, we're telling you, we're informing you, be prepared to stay. If it stops there, you will be in trouble. What we need to say is we're going to involve you, you're going to be part of the decision process and be part of the change and influence the outcome. And that's what TPM sets out to do. But maybe by doing that, we're being treated as individuals and collectively with respect. We gain recognition and self-esteem, and we can all buy into that aspiration. So perhaps TPM should stand for today, people matter in this technological age. So in conclusion, Digitalization Industry 4 will not arrive at your enterprise's front door as a one-size-fits-all flat pack for you to assemble. So be selective and relevant to your business and make use of cross-functional teams at the sharp end of the business. Secondly, the leadership team will get back the behaviors that they themselves exhibit. So start by leading with humility and respect for the individual. And don't forget, it's your people that will continue to make the difference. So tap into their minds of gold through relevant skills training, development, involvement by working in partnership. And finally, learning by understanding is important, but learning by doing ensures a continuous improvement mindset for a sustainable future, which is precisely what TPM sets out to do by improving the quality of our working life in the workplace. And we can all buy into that. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter, for your good presentation. Thank you again. And I'd like to invite our second speaker, Mr. Tom. You have the floor now, please. You can start.
Thanks for the invitation to the OMAINTEC organization and Dr. Soher. And it's a pleasure for me to talk about the subject about engineering, and which I like. And it would also, during my presentation, I will visit 3 of the UN Sustainable Goals and take it from an engineering perspective. So please flip this. Yes. Starting point, I will take you to the ancient Rome. We are back approximately 2,000 years ago when a Roman asset manager, I'm not sure it was his correct position at that time, he was the head of the utility company supplying water to the ancient Rome. And he was the first one to describe the process of planning and scheduling. He also addressed the inappropriate use of the assets. And he also had learned that it was vital for him to have maintenance team deployed in the distribution grid. However, at that time, he was not using maintenance technicians, but he was using slaves. And he was definitely a very highly qualified engineer, because some of the stuff he was responsible for is still existing. Try to imagine that the assets you are maintaining today will exist in 2,000 years from now. But that was back to the ancient Rome, and very few changes has happened since then. And then I will go to the, yes, please flip. Then I will go to look at the 3 of the goals. I have picked the one which is trained education, quality education, and the one about industry innovation and infrastructure, and the one about the sustainable use of the resources. And all these 3 goals needs as a support from an engineering practice, but also it require new skills for the engineering people. Please flip. Please flip, please. Yes. Today, we are facing a revolution. We are looking at Industry 4.0. We are looking at artificial intelligence, data handling, data mining, machine learning, and we are also looking at sensors which are distributed in our assets to a level which we have never seen before because prices are down and the sensors are more accessible. And what I think, this is a complete game changer, because having all these measuring devices, all the data handling, I'm quite convinced that maintenance strategy planning for preventive maintenance will be changed. And I'm definitely sure that we will see a future where the level of breakdown maintenance will be reduced. Probably never get to 0, but we we will see a change in the use of the assets caused by all the technologies introduced. But we all know by these technologies, it requires skills to use and adapt these technologies. Looking at the resource consuming one in number 12, we all know that engineering people, they have a good knowledge of what's going on in the business, steam consumption, water consumption, and so forth. We also have some of the maintenance people taking care of rotating spare parts. So we are used to take care of resources, being either water or even material. And if we're looking at the future where we need to take care of all the resources we are using, then it's obviously to pick the maintenance manager, the maintenance professional, the maintenance technician, to be in charge of all these streams of resources, ensuring that we are putting the material back into the circular economy and we are reducing the use of any resources. Please flip. Yeah. And looking at it from another perspective, in order to be able to adapt all these new technologies appearing caused by Industry 4.0, we need to educate our engineers so they are able to adapt these technologies. Of course, they got the domain, they got the engineering skills, but here we have a new technology and we need to equip our engineers with skills so they are able to use the technology in the assets, because that's where they create the value. So we need to change to educate and train our engineers. Second is also the sustainable, with all taking care of the resources. Yes, we got basic skills, but we also need to equip our engineers with new skills in order to be able to manage these new processes, the new streams of materials which are going into the circular economy, not thrown into the bin as we have used to do, but are reused as a valuable resource. This is the old story of cradle to grave, or cradle to cradle. So we need to have new skills for the engineering people, so they are able to cover and cope with these new challenges. Yes, please. And that brings me back to what was the purpose of this presentation. Of course, to congratulate all the engineers which are doing proper engineering and maintenance job today. And please flip. That would be the end of my presentation, and I will of course be available for any comments and questions afterwards. Thank you, and thanks for the invitation. It was a pleasure.
Every engineer in every place in the world, because really engineers are the ones who make our life sustainable life. So all the world, all the people should thank engineers for their role in keeping our life sustainable. And of course, we have much influence on having this SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations to be achieved. I'm very happy to welcome our third speaker in today's webinar, Mr. Ali Swedi from UAE. Ali is talking to us, I don't know, from his house or from the global village of Dubai. Ali, you can start.
Thank you very much. It's a secret place that I'm talking from. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I would like to say happy National or Happy World Engineering Day. I am personally an engineer, but when I decided to move to facility management from a strategic thinking rather than taking care of plant, I decided, no, I don't want to be an engineer. I want to be go to the management. But of course, engineering skills will always help you to grow in responsibility and in career path. So I am a firm believer that the engineer has all the way to even run financial company. But unfortunately today we see a lot of engineering company run by finance people, the opposite. We need to give opportunities for engineers to prove that finance is easier, engineering is something that you need to take care of. So let me take you through my presentation, and I would like again to say Happy World Engineering Day. And I just wanted to share with you a case study that we have done as a sustainability team, part of a leadership program. And being an engineer and being in facility management, I pushed the other member of my team. We had members from environmental, doctor in environment. We had people from social charity division. We had people from HR. I managed to, and a guy from finance, but I managed everybody that if you want to talk about sustainability, you have to talk about facility management, because our business issue today, cities are growing and demand for power and energy is growing, and nobody is thinking about facility and operation and maintenance from design. How can we make it more effective? Everybody thinking about recycle, but it's the first element of any sustainability strategy is reduce, then reuse, then recycle. So it's very important for us to close our eyes and sometimes think about how can we go back and do a better job in designing our cities and bringing them to be more effective. And I have to share with you this book I saw 2 years ago and I kept it with me. This is published by UAE and it's called the National Committee on Sustainable Development Goal. So they showed what they have achieved in 2018, which covers a lot of all the 17 goals, but it does not have anything about preventing more waste from design of projects. And this is what our biggest story. Yes, I made a mistake in designing various schools, hospitals, government building. How effective I am in managing these and how can I improve the future development that I am building. So as you can see, if I have a sustainable facility management, I will always try to achieve these benefits through my different initiatives that I do in managing facility. Reducing total energy waste, save natural resources. I have social benefit to my employee, ensuring their productivity and rights, and of course the economical benefits, which is bringing the cost of running this building down, not just energy cost, total cost of ownership. And again, crisis happens, and this was maybe the earlier crisis in 2008, and I'm sure now we are going through a crisis. It's different crisis, but it is impacting us financially. So normally, before crisis, most of the company, they have high agenda with sustainability. After the crisis, unfortunately, they drop the sustainability commitment and they try to cut costs. And this is a dangerous element if you don't calculate how you are dropping your costs. Am I affecting the performance of my assets? Am I affecting the energy wastage in the building because I don't have dedicated people to run these facilities? So what we are saying that even after the crisis, even before the crisis, sustainability, unfortunately, after the crisis, it did not become as a priority, but it can be achieved even during crisis by small steps. Involving facility managers, operation and maintenance team, they can always help to achieve sustainability. If sustainability has been practiced earlier, it can save money. Sustainability is a balanced practice. And this is what we as an engineers, facility managers, operation and maintenance team members can play our role. And this is a reminder for all of us that we have a role to play. And our role always to ensure that we look at the energy, we look at the waste generated from the facilities that we manage, we look at the water conservation in these facilities. And the most important thing is, of course, looking at how can we train our team to do a better job. Again, as Mr. Peter says, people, how to make people be informed, be involved and be part of the solution, not just your employees or the team, also the user of the facility. And this is how we have to do it. Of course, when we did this project, we focused on a case study in a mall, and it was a mall that is currently running. It was in 2008, and we looked at GRI, which is the Global Reporting Initiatives, and you can see it's a summary. You can design a mall to be sustainable. You can put an option for the people, as you can see in the picture, to use the escalator or use the stairs to do exercise. You can have fun. You can have social bonding. I'm sure it's Corona time now, but I'm sure we're going to go back to these. You can have enough skylight. So the team that worked with me on the sustainability project, we generated more than 40 ideas for a sustainable mall, including even giving discount for people who use bicycle or who use public transport, or even who comes, of course, if they come to the mall, you can even check their vehicle tires, and if it is not having sufficient, of course, air, of course, it's going to consume more fuel. So we have more than 40 ideas that we thought about, and we presented to the leadership at that time. And I thought engineers can do more. Engineer can have a big role playing in making the city sustainable. Again, these are the ideas of encouraging people to use bicycles. I'm done, Mr.
مهندس علي، على فكرة احنا ما بنشوف السلايدز حقتك. انت you are not sharing the screen.
I am sharing. The control room should share, right? I'm sorry if it is not shared. Nobody told me.
Yeah, this one. Now, after that, we did not see anyone. Only this one.
So I put it in a show. I don't know. Share again because they told me they already captured it. I'm really sorry. Now? Oh my God. Okay. Is it shared now? Is it shared now?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But move it, please. Flip it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It is shared?
Yes.
You could have told me at the beginning anyway. So I'm done with my presentation, unfortunately. So do you want me to go back or where is it? Is it shared now?
1 minute. Yes. Go back 1 minute to show the slides in 1 minute.
I cannot move the slides. I don't know. Stop sharing the slides. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure what's happening.
Share my screen.
This is the screen, right? Am I sharing the screen now?
No. Yes. Now, yes.
So how can I change from this one to the next one? It's not. I cannot control the. Okay, it's very slow. So I talked about the benefits, and then I moved.
Move to the next one.
It's very slow. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for that. So I talked about the benefit, and then I talked about very slow. It's not moving. Yeah. About the crisis and after the crisis, and how the behavior of organization changed when it comes to sustainability. I think because it has this is it. And then I talked about the strategy that engineers, operation and maintenance and facility management has to do. Maybe it is because of my slideshow, it takes too much time to. And then finally, I showed the sustainable mall design. I was talking about, and of course, we came up with more than 140 ideas that can be, it does not require huge investment, but it can be thought of from design, not just environmental ideas, but also social idea to engage users, engage exhibitors, engage even people who will come to the mall using public transport and using bicycle and even checking their car tires, because that will reduce fuel consumption in the tire if the tire pressure is done in a good way. And then finally, we came to a conclusion that, you know, sustainability. So these are the different ideas. Can you see it, Dr. Zuhair?
Yes.
And we came to a final conclusion, you know, in this Happy World Engineering Day, to say sustainability is not an added cost, it's a clever living. And you need to engage, as Professor Peter says, you need to engage people, not just you and your team, end user, the suppliers, the whole supply chain, into achieving this goal. And I would like to end my session here. Thank you very much. And sorry for not displaying the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Engineer Ali. And it was very interesting. And yes, I agree with you what you have concluded. It's not an added cost. It's a clever living. I'd like to welcome our last speaker in this session, Dr. Alan Wilson from UK, Carmichael Smith Chairman, and the floor is yours, Dr. Alan.
Thank you, Dr. Zuhair, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. Could I check, please, that I have the slides being shown? That's the first one. Thank you. That's yes. Good. Okay. If I could have the first slide, please, Flip. In the beginning, we started from a maintenance and operations point of view with looking at the cash flow within those certain headings of fixed business, variable costs, fixed direct costs. The excellent idea was to put together the capital expenditure and operations and maintenance expenditure and control that under the heading of asset management, which has not only brought benefits from that point of view and similar, but has also opened the door more widely to the opportunities for maintenance to make impact and influence on the organisation level of issues and objectives. And the focus by organisations on their business objectives and financial measures is continuous. Now and into the future, the focus is going to be on issues, as we've mentioned, on sustainability and climate, and such things as governance, ESG, it's called in the UK, and how engineering, and particularly maintenance, can contribute. The maintenance response depends on the quality, reliability, and management of the assets purchased, meaning that given the financial support, improvements are made which can result in the release of cash flow to other worthy causes. The emergence of ideas such as SVA, meaning shareholder or stakeholder value analysis, has led to the opinion that 7 factors named value drivers, as Mr. Peter Wilmot mentioned earlier about value, added value, can influence the financial objectives of an organisation because they can all add value. In order to generate the added value, these value drivers can make a favourable impact on an organisation's financial objectives. And here are 6 of them, as you see on the slide. 1, sales revenue growth rate, through to 6, projected cash flows. Flip. The first value driver to talk about is the growth of the sales and service revenue in an organisation. This first value driver is about generating increased levels of income from the sales of a product or from a service in facilities, for example. When we look at the wide range of preventive maintenance tasks required, which will work towards keeping the assets operating, it is clear that a pre-planned approach to maintenance tasks is best. This figure illustrates, I think, 2 approaches to maintenance planning. On the left is a proactive approach based on having good knowledge about the condition of the plant and the work carried out on it. Maintenance standard procedures can be set, and reductions in the cost of unplanned corrective work and the consequence of asset failures can be reduced by multiples of 10%. The right-hand side of the slide shows a situation which is unplanned and generally out of control. Flip. The second of the drivers is an increase of operating profit at a fixed output or service. So the ratio of operating profit to sales revenue shows what is left after all the operational expenses of running the business for the period have been met. The stages of an asset's life cycle, from design to disposal, are shown on the x-axis of this slide. On the y-axis, we have the possibility to influence the costs as a percentage of the total spend. So we should be looking at when our engineers are involved within this timescale from concept, feasibility and design through to phase out and disposal of the assets. At one point, a high percentage of assets lifecycle costs are already designed in. That is by the end of the design stage. Excuse me one moment. What we require is that maintenance personnel should be involved in the early stages of this life cycle. The maintenance personnel should be included for training and the contribution they can give within the design and build stages of a capital project. They will support a decrease in the operating expenditure, increasing the returns by assisting with the access to the assets. Maintainability, improving the maintenance engineering methods and implementing the standard engineering procedures. Flip. So their input would be from the feasibility stage of the capital project, shown here in blue at the top, and would then be involved all the way through the capital project, obviously through to the operations and maintenance stage and disposal of the assets. But some questions here would include: have the failure risks identified from previous experience been designed out of those assets? Will the asset's functional specifications deliver a sales revenue or service which will provide a sustainable operating profit, and for how long? Flip. The third value driver is the choice of capital expenditure. An appropriate approach to the finance of capital investments is the application of the life cycle costs methods or something similar. And this slide shows the basis of one approach to that, which I shall leave with you. Initially, the firm must generate enough cash through its operations to pay the lenders of the money the interest they have agreed and to pay the shareholders their expected rate of return. An option shown is to asset purchasing is that the equivalent service is leased from another company as opposed to being bought. The leasing company simply charges a fixed fee at the end of each year. What should this annual fee be to make the firm indifferent between the options of leasing and buying the machine, therefore having the option of going to purchase or to lease. Just another way of the possibility of reducing costs. Flip. The fourth value driver is aimed at reducing the needs for those new asset purchases. The aim here is to reduce expenditure by delaying asset replacements where the risks are low because the quality of the assets and the maintenance is high, or by refurbishing the assets, which will extend their anticipated lives and increase their value. Although item B there does require investment if refurbishment involves significant evaluation of the asset condition, cost comparisons of refurbishment as opposed to total replacement, the preparation of as-built drawings of the existing installation, and preparing the assets design and drawings and an implementation program for the refurbished assets. Flip. The fifth value driver is investing in working capital. The working capital assigned to the maintenance asset management function is an ongoing target for cost reductions when audits are carried out. We know, for example, that one reason for the use of outsourcing is based on economy. But whatever changes are made, the risks need to be questioned. By way of an example, for outsourcing, the loss of in-house knowledge is a major consideration. And if we look at this particular slide, we can see that the likelihood of outsourcing being applied here is decreasing as the level of responsibility increases up to the OM objectives response to corporate governance and strategy needs. Flip. Flip. Oh, that's okay. I have it. Thank you. The life cycle of projected cash flows is the sixth option. Optimization through the development of improved ideas and the potential return of part of the allocated budget. For this, the impact should be large and for the long term. This particular slide shows the method of planning using the computer system to bring together the maintenance requirements for planning, the shutdown, the project demands, and the refurbishment demands into an integrated planning system, which then is available for operations and for procurement and for the maintenance activities within them. Measuring the improvements this provides is another thing, but it gives us returns over a long period into the future. Flip. So what do we do with that information for those 6 value drivers? We try and put them into the asset management system, which will reach through to the organizational objectives and organizational plans, which means that we'd like them to be part of the asset management plans to start off with, and for that to reach into the SAMP, Strategic Asset Management Plan, and onwards and upwards to the board level. Flip. And so what we're trying to do is to develop a series of measures which will show us the way in which those various value drivers will be attained up to the point where we are gaining a return on capital, costs reduced as a percentage of assets gross capital value, so the money available can be available to other deserving causes such as sustainability and climate. And I'd like to leave that there. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Zuhair.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Alan. Thank you all the speakers. It was really valuable presentations, and again, we congratulate all the engineers for their World Engineering Day. And I'd like to say that in next OMAINTEC, which will be in 16 to 18 November 2021, hopefully physically, someplace in the world, we will have a session talking about more details about the relation of maintenance, facility management, and asset management to achieve sustainable development goals. And again, I'd like to highlight that this session is recorded and it will be presented for those who could not attend our session today, our webinar, and it will be available on the OMAINTEC website and AMI International Maintenance, IMA International Maintenance Association website, and all the presentations, all the discussions will be there. Thank you again, and in behalf of the IMA and OMAINTEC, I'd like to repeat my thanks to our speakers for their time, for their good presentations, and also I'd like to thank all the participants, and hopefully looking forward to see you in next event. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Thank you.
All right.